in this, you can start. So in the sideline position, one thing is you want to make sure they're not too far forward or back, but upright, right? So they can take the pressure, and pillow underneath their head to keep their cervical spine in line with the rest of their spine. And a lot of times I'll just move this top leg over. And depending on the person, you might want a pillow underneath their knee. I don't know how that feels to you.
Feel like you need a pillow.
It feels okay on my knee, but it feels like my hips
Well, and
shifted.
that's an indicator that.
Yeah.
So we're going to put that underneath there. And if it makes a difference, if not, we can make it higher.
No, it's better, I think.
Better? Alright. So, and remember, this is the position that they ended up in when we were doing the last exchange. So now, after we move them into sideline, we're going to come like this. So this leg is up against them to support them in sideline. This foot is above their head. Because what we're going to do is we're going to start with compression into the side of the head. That's where the gallbladder meridian starts. So just to get a sense of where the meridian starts, if you look at the eye orbit, and where the eye orbit comes together, this is called the canthus, where the orbit comes together. And feel on yourself. Feel for where it comes together, and just come about a finger width behind it, and you go in there, you should feel a little indentation. You feel that a little bit more? That's gallbladder 1. That's where the meridian starts.
Okay.
So this point is used to help clear the head a little bit. It won't make the voices stop, but it'll clear the mind a little bit. Creates a little space.
Okay.
So we're going to start with palmar compression. So in this position, our hara is right over the area, and we're just going to start, and we're going to compress in this arc behind the ear. And since it's a wide area, we're going to compress that whole pathways of the meridian. So we'll just start again by just so you don't smash it into the finger. And you're just going to lean in like this. And you're going to work in arc, leaning in on the exhale. Okay? And you don't want to obviously compress over the ear, but you want to come. And then just do a couple of compressions so you make sure that you include all the meridian. Okay, and then I'm going to come right up against the person to support them, and I'm sitting in seiza. So we compressed here, and now we're going to come, and I'm going to take my hand and put it underneath their arm like this, so I have support here. So I'm going to start by just going like this and leaning back to start to stretch this area. So leaning back a little bit. And I'm going to change the angle a little bit so that I can get all those fibers of the neck muscles. Okay. And then I'm going to take my thumb and I'm going to feel for the mastoid process, that bony protuberance behind the ear. And then I'm going to move about a thumb width towards the midline underneath the occipital ridge, and you'll feel a little indentation. And you feel that in there? That's another acupressure point, and that's really good for headaches. And this is gallbladder 20, and it's going right into the suboccipital muscles. That's why it helps free up that area. So rather than push a lot into that point, you place your thumb there and then depress the shoulder. That's an easier way to apply pressure there. Okay, and then you can just work underneath that whole occipital ridge that way, using the depression of the shoulder to apply the sustained compression. And you might want to do that a couple times dependent, because it's pretty damn yummy.
Yeah, okay.
And then I'm just going to do a little petrissage down neck, because the meridian comes that way. So I'm just, and again, the petrissage is guided by that you're behind the SCM. So you can feel the transverse processes of the cervical vertebrae here. And if you go right on that, off of there, you're getting the attachment of levator as it comes up. So that's nice to know, feeling just behind the SCM, feeling for the transverse processes of the cervical vertebra, and knowing the attachment there of levator. and then it comes right down to the top of the shoulder. Now, there's an acupressure point here, which is about halfway between the end of the shoulder, or the acromion process, and the base of the neck. But it's at the highest portion of the upper trapezius. So you feel for a little tension there.
Easy to find.
Easy to find. So how to stimulate it, one way is this. You place your fingers there and here, and you can just do circles.
Oh, wow.
Right? It's a nice way of doing it. Okay? And then from here, we're just going to let our hands open up so that we're supporting the front and back of the shoulder girdle. And because the meridian comes through the front, we're just going to do some nice range of motion this way, opening up that area. I thought that was Laura first. So range of motion, right? And then here's a nice way to free the scapula off the rib cage, because that has a tendency to glue down.
Yes.
So when you motion the shoulder forward, it makes the vertebral border of the scapula a little bit more pronounced. So sitting in this position, you can take your hand palm up and place your fingers right underneath there, and then bring it onto your fingertips, and then lean this way. This really lifts the scapula off of the rib cage, and you work down to the inferior angle. It's okay, Lo? And you're using your body weight, so I'm not lifting, but I'm placing, bringing it on, and then just copping lean to leaning.
Wow.
So nice. Okay, so the meridian starts here, zigzags, comes through here, comes in front of the shoulder. Now it's going through the side of the torso. So from here, I'm going to come up on one knee and 1 foot again. And I'm going to take the arm overhead, because now with a simple stretch this way opens this area up. And the meridian, it's zigzagging around the side, but the points are in between the ribs. So you want to lift using their arm, and this is a simple lock, just like this. And you can just shift like this, or else you can do this.
Ooh-wee.
That's another one. That's called a collapse position. So palm like this, placed here, and then you literally collapse your body onto it to lock it in place, and then you just lean this way. And nice stretch. And then you just add some compression. And you might want to do that a couple times, because you're using a broad compression so you get all of the meridian as it zigzags. And then it comes right onto the top of the hip, so I'll do a little stretch this way. Just address that as it comes through the hip. And bring the arm down. So we've done this, this, and now we're here. So I'm going to come support the sacrum here. And I usually take my foot over so it locks that in, because if that leg isn't there and you start compressing, it goes that way. So to keep the integrity of the body, I lock it in on this side with my knee and on this side with my foot. And now I'm going to compress into the soft tissue of the gluteals. So one way of doing it is this way, because it's like a crescent moon here, which is the soft tissue all around the greater trochanter of the femur. So a lot of times I'll use the palm of my hand, but I'll place my fingers right over the greater trochanter so I can use that as a central point and just pivot around it. So I'm going to work this away. And I have one hand over the other and just sinking in. That pressure's okay?
It's cool.
Right, do a couple times, because the muscles are thick. Now, if it's...
Big.
What are you saying?
That's why I did a pantomime.
Nice.
No, I wasn't talking about you, though, just in general. You can use your forearm just to sink in like this.
Nice.
If they're real big and surly, or maybe you just don't like them, you can come up like this and use your knee.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's way too.
So again, intention's the same, but what?
Right.
Not only what's needed,
Mm-hmm.
but how you match up with the person,
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
right? So usually, in a general sense, you know, this will be fine.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then you want to
protect
take that
just
compression
person.
down, because the gallbladder meridian, from here, it comes right through the iliotibial band, right through the peroneals, right in front of the ankle and this way.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to accommodate that with a little compression. So after the gluteals, you feel for the greater trochanter, and then the meridian continues just directly below that as it makes its way down.
Mm-hmm.
So you feel for the greater trochanter and just start compressing right below it. And see the position I'm in, my hara is over the work, so I'm just basically leaning in.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. Taking down to the side of the knee. And as I mentioned before, excuse me, the meridian continues down through the peroneals. So, peroneals here,
Mm-hmm.
foot's here,
Oh, wow. Oh,
pressure's
cool.
okay,
Yeah.
easy.
Mm-hmm.
Now you could obviously go like this,
Yeah.
and that's cool,
Yeah.
but
I like the other better.
I do.
Yeah, this is way cool.
And it's always good, you know, like I try to promote using all different parts of your body.
Yeah.
I mean, because that's the way to go.
Yeah.
It's all
I
you,
agree.
Mm-hmm.
and the more you use it, the more sensitivity you build up, and it'll always come in handy.
Yeah. And
Guaranteed.
It feels so good on your feet.
And you didn't really shift too much.
This is the thing.
That's what I like.
And this is what I hope
Yeah.
you're noticing, how one thing goes into the other. And
Mhm.
like you said so well, it's the economy of movement.
Mm-hmm.
Because that way it saves all your energy for focus and paying attention to what the hell is happening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I watch people and I think that they're working way too much, too
Uh-huh.
hard, they're
Too
up and
hard.
down and over and out. And
Yeah.
I'm just like, whoa.
Yeah.
But,
Nice.
so like this, right?
That's where so much of the art of it comes in.
This is the thing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You
To
know,
be
this
able
is
to
thing.
flow.
The flow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just do a little
I
compression
like the flow.
right into the
And
top
boy,
of the
does
foot.
it stretch that fascia too. It just feels.
It opens up the ankle joint.
Wow.
Okay, so, wow. Just to end this,
Mm-hmm.
every meridian has a series of acupressure points on them. They have different numbers. They're all meridians because of their length. They have different amount of pressure points called sulo.
Mm-hmm.
And every point has a particular function. The function could be energetic, emotional,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times physical, where it's located in the body. So if there's an acupressure point here, when you press it, it's going to help alleviate some imbalance here. But on every meridian, there's one acupressure point that's called source point. It's also called balancing point. So we have these meridians that have energy running through them. And depending on how we use our body, or how we react to certain situation, how our emotional makeup is, the meridian can either be balanced, or it can have too much energy
Mm-hmm.
or too little energy. The acupressure point, which is considered the source point, if you stimulate that, it helps balance the energy. So if it's too much, it lowers it. If it's too little, it raises it. So every meridian has a source point.
Mm-hmm.
And the source point, or balancing point, for the gallbladder meridian is right here. So come.
Okay.
So it's not, the source is not necessarily the first point.
No,
So
it's
somewhere
just
along the
a
line.
point, yeah.
Okay.
And all the source points are on the feet and the hands.
Oh,
That's
So at the beginning or the ending of the meridian, basically.
The reflexology.
It's exactly like that. So you can press here and affect somewhere else. There's local effect, also distal effect, because it's connected to the meridian. So to locate the source point for the gallbladder, which is gallbladder 40, you feel or look at the lateral malleolus. But before that, you just spend a little time checking out the ink, because that's important. gives you an indicator of person a little bit. And then, so in front and at the bottom of the ankle, so in the front and at the bottom, there's a little indentation here. So the pressure, first you feel that concavity, and then you press in towards the, look at the face. Again for the camera, please. And you want to hold that. That's the source point for that. And you just want to hold it for like a couple of complete inhales and exhales. And then continue with the compression into the top of the foot, right out the fourth toe. So that's a really nice complete work of the gallbladder meridian.
Wow.
Okay, now the only other thing I want to add is because there's so much stickiness in the hip, you know, working the gallbladder is good, working the points are good, but it's also good to give it a really good physical stretch. And this is one way of doing that for this top hip. So we're already down here. So we're going to, this is the extended leg. We're going to bend the extended leg. Okay? And we're going to sit. And I'm going to place one foot there and one foot right on her knee. And I'm in line with her hip. I'll take this leg and bring it in between my legs and lean back. Okay, Laura?
That looks yummy.
Yeah, man. So that's a lovely stretch. So, and it's stretching actually this portion of the gallbladder, that portion of the gallbladder, and the ribs. And if you have them bring their arm overhead, it lifts the ribs a little bit more, so you can get a little bit different application of stretch.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay? So then we're going to release that, and then we're going to bring it back up. And since this leg is extended and in such a nice way, this is a nice way of working this inner leg again, if you feel that that's applicable. And a nice way of doing it is just keeping it grounded with your knee right in the arch and then just compressing like this. Because you're right over the work, it's real easy to do. And when you get up to the abductors, which we've already worked, you can come up and you could work them again, either with your palm of your hand, or else I'll use my legs like this.
Knee.
It's more shin,
Wow.
right? You could also easily do that standing. The arch of your foot,
Nice.
that compression's okay. The arch of the foot molds over the contour of the adductor, so it takes the pressure really nicely.
Yeah, that's nice.
And remember, too, I mean, it's easier for you, especially if you're working on somebody bigger. And then also, you can do this, which I'll have you try. So after this, to finish that, sitting. So come over here, ladies. So I'm sitting right on the adductors. I'm straddling. Pressure's okay, Laura?
Yeah.
And what I did was I pressed down here so it turns the leg so it receives the pressure a little bit clearer.
Yeah.
So you're sitting. And it's the same premise as when we were sitting earlier on the quads, that if you're forward, it's less pressure. You feel that, Laura? But when you sit over more in an upright position, because of the verticality of the spine, your body weight goes right down and makes contact. In this case, adductors, spleen, liver, kidney. Okay? So like that, and you just sit again, like we did before, and this is considered another, in Thai massage, a traditional blood stop.
Yeah.
So the purpose is to sit there long enough until the pulse slows down a little bit, so you get that back pressure, and then when you release, they get that warm rush.
Such a nice feeling to get that,
I know.
rush in that
That's
joint.
surprising.
Oh,
Yeah.
I know. Surprising. Surprised me too. Pushing out the toxins and extra lactic acid.
I just forgot what I was supposed to do. I have no mind pretty easily. It's scary. Okay, so I would probably stand maybe just a little longer, but I think it's okay. And then you're going to come off, right? And when you come off, so you can lift up.
Feel the rush of the blood.
Wow.
Okay, and to finish,
That's cool.
so check. We're like this, right?
Right.
Mhm.
We come off like this.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're going to do psoas stretch to end.
Oh,
Nice.
nice.
So here, oh, it's dangerous. Stephen. No one ever volunteers for this one. So I'm always thinking about like they'll avoid overextending our back. So while you're up, bring this leg back and hold it like this. Okay, so this part, that's A.
Okay.
And then you're going to come and you're going to sit above their hips like this. That's B. Now C is you're going to place the side of your lower leg right in their lower back. And that's where psoas originates. You don't want it on the sacrum because it'll retard the movement back. So above the sacrum. And you're going to bring the leg back like this. It's okay still? And you just rest it here. And then you take this hand like this and this hand like this. So now the work's in front of you and your arms are extended and you try to keep their leg as relatively parallel to the mat as possible. And now you're just going to have them inhale. And on the exhale, you just want to lean back. Ah, Kim. You feel that, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
This is lovely supported psoas stretch. So walk around a little bit so you
Yeah.
see this position. And notice how the work is in front of me. And my body is not rotated. And my arms are extended. And her lower back is supported by the side of my lower leg. And this leg is bent a little bit up so it can support this leg.
Beautiful.
You feel that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's this, right? And since it's a relatively deep stretch, because it's the deepest muscle in the body, that as you release slow. And as you release slow, then you come with it up and use their leg as a lever, and you move them back in the supine.
Wow.
So then we can do the other side.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful.
Okay? Okay, thank you. That's cool.